Hello and welcome to the show, and welcome to the second stage of the Los Santos rally. This stage starts with a rather nasty uphill climb with all of the off-road. Well, I think there's only 9 or 8 entrances in the off-road class. All of them qualified to get through to the next round, so all of the vehicles were going to try out the rest of the course. And this opening section was rather hilly. The more powerful your car, the better, pretty much. It wasn't massively technical. I tried my best to find stages that didn't just rely on speed, that would actually rely on braking and cornering. However, that is a little bit tricky with the roads in GTA. They're designed, I think, for sort of more fast driving, easier driving. And the opening section of this course was, I wouldn't say straightforward, it was still quite bumpy around here. But yeah, there wasn't too many corners to begin with. The Kalahari, I just noticed how thin the tyres are on the Kalahari. I'm amazed that could get any grip at all. This thing is remarkably good at smoothing out the bumps. It's incredible, really, considering it doesn't really look like it should. But yeah, this thing smooths out most of the bumps on the course. However, it is not the fastest of cars, of vehicles in a straight line. There's a little bit of lag. Ignore that. It's just something that happens with with GTA. But yeah, you can see how remarkably easy this thing is when it comes to kind of traversing the bumps. The suspension on this thing really does deal with them quite well. Equally, the Sand King deals with the bumps well. It's hard to explain. You'll notice around here, because of such soft suspension on this and such high ride height, it does tend to get a little bit of a bounce going on over some of the bumps, but still doesn't really have any problems of sort of spinning out so much on the jumps. It does have the problem of being very, very large, and this route does go across a rather narrow dam. The Sand King just about gets away with it, takes out a few lampposts on the way, and comes up to the toughest section on the course. These next sort of couple of jumps, very, very bumpy, very easy to try and carry too much speed through here and have an accident. The Sand King gets the line pretty much perfectly. That's what you want to be doing. If you can kind of aim the jump so you kind of cut the corner almost, it gets very far on 2 wheels. You can make up a little bit of time by doing that. Of course, you're always risking landing a little bit awkwardly for the next part. The June Loader, as I said, because of the lack of entrances for the off-road class, June Loader made it through despite being rather slow at a straight line. This thing did not have the greatest of straight line speeds and managed to have a problem. Wasn't expecting this to have a problem. I think what happened is as he turned, one of the back wheels lifted off the road, which pretty much put him round in a circle. I was expecting it to be the Bifters that would have a problem, and they didn't really have any notable problems through there. Both drivers got away with it. This Bifter, the yellow Bifter, took an interesting line through here, trying to shortcut the circuit, if you like. Nobody else thought to do that, and he got away with it. The big risk in doing that is, yes, you may save a couple of tenths of a second, but it's on the landing where you could have some problems, and the Bifters are notorious for sort of spinning out over bumps. So on this occasion, the Bifter got away with it, but it could equally have gone the other way. The Rebel was also actually put in a fairly decent time. Another vehicle that struggles with the straight line speed. The normal, I guess the more normal off-road vehicles just don't have the speed. And as I said, while I tried my best to find twisty circuits, there is only so many roads, and the final section on this was pretty much flat out all of the way. It was also fairly smooth. It's kind of more dusty tarmac this than real proper dirt. Of course, it was the Bifters that were going really rather quickly, and Huskies was another one that was putting in some decent time, or put in a decent time, sorry. Despite having a little bit of a scare, running just outbraked himself, running a little bit too wide. Didn't quite end up in the, I don't even know what would sort of, I don't know, what would you call that area down there? Whatever it is called, Husky didn't end up in it, just about got away with it, and manages to sort of survive the bumps. I apologise for the blooming filters. It took me a while to realise with the off-road cars that yeah, stupid thing. Anyway, the FQ2 was struggling a little bit. Again, this car, I was surprised it just didn't have the speed. It had very, very little speed. In fact, it doesn't help when you almost manage to roll it. Yeah, I thought this would do better. I thought this would be a little bit quicker than some of the off-road vehicles. It is more of a normal road car. I'm wondering if the top speed of the vehicles is lowered slightly by having off-road tyres on it. In reality, big off-road tyres would lower your top speed because of the rolling resistance. So I don't know if that is a thing that affects it. However, it did struggle. The times for stage 2, well, both of the Bifters were very, very fast. They said identical times of 2 minutes 20.9. That's quite impressive. The Bodie, It did. It was the fastest of the rest, almost 10 seconds though, behind the Bifters. The Rebel, I was surprised actually to see the Rebel beating the Sand King. I thought the Sand King would have a little bit more speed on the Rebel. The Kalahari just lacked that straight line speed, and yeah, was a little bit slower. The FQ2 struggled quite a lot that I was surprised by, and the Dune Loader, yeah, not really surprised by that one being down the bottom. Overall, from the first two stages combined, Husky leads with a very small margin back to the second Bifter. The Sand King is in third, while the Rebel is starting to make ground after a slightly poor qualifying stage. The FQ2 sort of it's just a little bit off the rest of the field, while the Dune Loader was struggling. The Bodhi, after a rather disastrous first round, was now starting to make ground on catching back up to the field. We move on to the on-road cars next. And again, the opening section is pretty straightforward for these. The Sultans are fast cars. This one gets a little bit lost. Manages to go into a tree. Yeah, didn't see nobody else got lost on that turning. Got fairly lucky not getting carried away on those jumps. There's a little bit of a lag crash going on there as well. Yeah, the downside with running a Sultan on this course is, while yes, they are four-wheel drive, they are fairly low to the ground, despite being sort of supposedly rally cars, as you can see. This one having all sorts of problems on the bumps. Another Sultan as we come up towards the notorious accident spot ready for this course. Of all the places, this was where I was expecting there to be problems. It gets a big slide on over the first jump, and that's almost gets it right. Can't quite kind of straight line it, if you like, and bumps around across the rocks a little bit. Yeah, it's a tough course, this. It's sort of like the first section. The second bit is fairly smooth, fairly fast. There's just a few bumps that can catch the cars out and cause all sorts of problems. The Green Sultan, this one is one of the only 3 vehicles to get under the 1:50 mark on the first stage, so it was in a good shape coming into the second stage. Has everything go a little bit wrong again, just catches a bump and goes round in a circle, recovers very quickly. Hasn't actually lost too much time, but you would have lost a bit of time on that one. Yeah, putting your car on the roof is not so good for that. He flips it back onto its wheels. Yeah, that doesn't help. It doesn't help when you end up on your roof. The Chameleon also struggled a little bit on this stage. There's a little bit of lag on this car as well. I think a lot is to do with just very, very low ride height. This is even less suited to off-road than the Sultans, and you can see as we go over the bumps, again, just a little bit of lag as it goes over the bumps. Not quite the ideal landing on that one. Yes, it struggles a little bit. Also, this is rear-wheel drive, unlike the Sultan. I believe this is rear-wheel drive anyway, and we'll struggle a little bit more for traction. Traction's not really a massive thing on this. You'll see more problems with the bumps here. Traction is odd the way GTA deals with traction. It's more to do with power than anything else. The more powerful car tends to do better. Blue Sultan almost went into the tree. I didn't expect people to have problems. I thought people would be using their sat-nav a bit more, or the GPS thing, to see which way the route or the road curved. This one got very, very lucky to just kind of bounce off the barrier, although he did manage to outbrake himself and fall into wherever that sort of place there is. Again, fairly quick recovery. Would have been a quicker recovery had there not been a telegraph pole there in the way, but yeah, didn't go as far as to the water and could kind of get his car back up on the road without too many issues, but you will have lost a little bit of time. Another Blue Sultan was flying through the opening stage, and despite doing a quick first part of the course, everything went wrong. Trying to take too much speed, hit the crash barrier, bounced over it before wrapping a car around a telegraph pole. Now he's in trouble, and he's back on his side again. And yeah, this is not a good place to have an accident. You really do not want to end up out here. And while he tried his best to get back on the road, in the end, this will be the first DNF of the course. If a car gets a DNF, it will get a time that is it will be like the last place time plus a 10-second penalty. So yeah, we have our first DNF of the rally. We move on to the coupes next. Only 2 coupes qualified for the top 10. An exemplar set off, and these cars have, I wouldn't say a particularly big advantage, because yes, they're rear-wheel drive. They're probably going to be lower than the Sultan, so they're going to have other issues. However, they do have a little bit better acceleration, a little bit better speed than the Sultans, which should even things out and should make things interesting. And on the opening kind of hill climb section of the track, if you like, the exemplar was certainly going rather quickly through here. So yeah, it would be interesting to see how these cars compared to the Sultans. As I said, they're going to be more affected by the bumps than some of the other cars because of their very low ride height, and of course they are rear-wheel drive. They will have a little bit less traction. We move to the fastest run of the lot. I'm going to show you the entire run with this car. Very, very big jump. Didn't realise how big that jump was. When you look at the off-road vehicles, they weren't really noticing that jump so much. I guess the acceleration on these cars is so fast that they actually hit the jump. Travelling at fairly high speeds through there. Again, all through here, it's pretty much flat out all the way up this hill. Not really too much to worry about. Little bit of lag going on there. As yeah, the bumps aren't too bad on this section. As I said, it's mainly a sort of a dusty tarmac kind of road surface. Again, you can carry a lot of speed through here as it's downhill. It's very easy to get carried away and try and take a bit too much speed through here, as you saw with one of the Sultans. The Felon GT, though, got his car slowed down in time. The Felon has an interesting characteristic, though, as you will have noticed. For whatever reason, much like the Coquette that we had on Downhill Chaos, it likes to go on two wheels for no apparent reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Again, you can see a little bit of problem on the landing of the jump there. Managed to get his car stopped before he goes into the kind of the hillside. Yeah, I'm not sure why these cars have problems, or why some cars seem to have this problem of liking to roll over. I don't think it's much to do with grip as such. There's no way of changing grip characteristics on a car, and neither this nor the Coquette are massively sort of grippy cars to drive. Like the Voltic, I could kind of understand, as that has huge levels of grip when you're just sort of driving on a road normally. But these aren't noticeably different to any of the other cars, and you'll see it again over the top of that thing there. It was wanting to kind of lift up on two wheels. Yeah, I don't know why. I can understand the likes of the Rebel, the Sand King, and then the Messer, and that's kind of car having issues if you kind of slightly sort of, I guess, kind of drive over a bit of a hill and rolling that, because they've got a very high centre of mass. But with these cars, I don't really know. Anyway, as the Felon comes towards the end of its run, it's a very simple, fast section down here for these cars. Didn't try and climb over the side of the mountain, which is probably the wiser thing to do. You're going to gain very little time from doing that in reality, and you run a very big risk of messing up on the landing. And then the finish line is just around the corner, and the Felon GT has made it to the end of the course. The final car to go was the Mercedes, the Shafter, and this car, it struggled with straight line speed, really. While, yeah, you know, the bumps are going to affect all of these cars, the Shafter didn't have too many issues with them. It was just the speed it didn't have. This was running on off-road tyres as well, and I'm not sure if if that's affecting some of these cars, sort of like limiting their top speed. Yeah, it struggled with the straight line speed despite having a fairly uneventful run. It wasn't the quickest of times just due to the lack of speed and acceleration. The weight of the car probably not helping that much. We look at the times, and it is the Felon that sets the fastest time. Not much faster though than the Exemplar. Then third to fifth is full of Sultans, although pretty much all of the cars below third had incidences on their run that would have slowed down their time. In fact, even the third place Sultan had a brush with a tree that you saw almost made a wrong turning there. Yeah, we go down to find the Shafter towards the bottom, just lacking straight line speed and lacking acceleration. And the Sultan at the very bottom, yeah, with the DNF, with the time penalty. I'm doing it with a time penalty just so, like, if somebody crashed out, they have an incentive to carry on. When we look at the overall results, it is all change. The Felon GT has gone to the top, pushing the Sultan out of first. However, it's still fairly close between them. The Exemplar is now up into third. The big winners were Jake Statistics, Sultan, which has moved up 2 places, while the big loser is LMR Aguirre's Sultan that lost 2 places. Chameleon lost a place, and the rest of the field remained fairly where it was, except for E-Seed's Sultan, which has dropped to the back of the field because of a DNF, which is, you know, which is about right, really. However, you can still bring it back in the coming stages. Well, there we go. That is it for the second stage of the Los Santos rally. Some interesting results coming out of this, and it's certainly not the Sultan domination that people were kind of expecting. However, that is it for today. Check back in tomorrow for the next stage of the rally. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.